Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. In this video, we are going to dive deep into the meanings of the planets in your birth chart and how you can use them to make your own interpretations. So first of all, what are the planets? Well, the planets are going to be celestial objects. They're going to be placed around the birth chart wheel. And in Astrology, you can see all of them listed on the right side of the page. Every single planet will bring up a different personality aspect or a different life aspect. So there's two types of planets that we're going to look at. There's going to be the personal planets, and then there's going to be the generational planets. Personal planets speak particularly about personality traits, whilst the generational planets are going to speak about generation traits, specifically when we look at the zodiac sign, because the generational planets move so slowly that the traits are not going to be particularized for you, but they're going to be more visible as a generation. So first of all, let's talk about the personal planets, and we're going to start off with the sun. The sun is going to be represented by a symbol that is a circle with a dot in the middle. And it represents your ego, what gives you the most vitality and power. It's what fuels you with confidence. So you probably know what your sun sign is, even if you know nothing about astrology, because that is what most people know as their zodiac sign. So the sun will spend approximately 30 days in every zodiac sign, depending on the time period that you're born, and you likely know what your sun sign is. Now, the sun doesn't just represent your overall ego and personality, but it also represents what gives you the most confidence in life, like what fuels you the most. So activities described by the zodiac sign that the sun falls in, as well as the house that the sun falls in, is going to tell you how you're going to feel like yourself, how you're going to feel confident and happy in life. The sun can also represent authority figures such as the father or institutions, bosses in your life, but it also represents how you express the masculine side of yourself, specifically the one where you want to stand out and be appreciated and be in the center of attention. The next planet that we are going to talk about is going to be the moon. So the sun and the moon are called the luminaries, and the moon is probably the second most important planet in your chart, if not the most important one. Contrary to the sun, the moon is a very internalized placement, so people usually tend not to notice this part about you, or it's not as reflected in your outside personality as your sun sign is, because the moon rules your emotional needs and your internal world, and that what gives you the most emotional comfort. And the moon as such can also represent the relationship with the mother, or at least the parent that was supposed to nurture you, and also your experience with feeling comfortable and emotionally secure in life. So for example, if your moon is in a very harsh connection with other planets such as Saturn or Pluto, you may notice that you don't feel as taken care of in life, or you're more likely to feel isolated from the outside world. Now, obviously, context really matters, and the environment that you're in is going to change these things, but the moon sign and house and aspects to the moon are still very important to define your emotional security in life, but also how you can reinforce your own emotional comfort in life. The next placement that we're going to talk about is going to be Mercury. Now, Mercury is going to be the planet of communication, the mind, the intellect, all of the mental processes that have to do with conscious thinking specifically. So Mercury is going to rule how you express yourself, but also how you think about information. So a zodiac sign that is very fiery, for example, if your Mercury falls in that one, your thinking style is going to be very direct, very passionate, very quick. Also, similarly, if you have an aspect between Mercury and a planet that is very has a bias for fighting, such as Mars, you could be very assertive in your speech. So Mercury is going to represent how you come off onto others when it comes to your own self-expression. Mercury is also relevant in the charts of children because it represents how they best learn in school and how they acquire information. But it's not a placement that is fully present in a child since birth. It's something that comes online a little bit later, such as the age of 5 to 7 years old, when kids are of school age. The next planet that we're going to talk about is going to be Venus. Now, probably you can be intuitive about what this planet means, because Venus is the planet of beauty, the feminine side of ourselves, and we're all a blend of feminine and masculine energy, of course. But in the charts of women or people who are predominantly identifying with feminine energy, Venus is going to show how they embrace their own femininity, how they embrace their own beauty, and when they feel the most lovable, whilst men or people who identify primarily with male energy in their behavior, their Venus placement is going to represent what type of woman they have by their side or what type of woman they are attracted to. Venus is either going to show how you show your feminine side, but also what type of femininity you seek in other people. and what you may be attracted to. So Venus is also the planet of relationships, love, romance, but it can also show what type of beauty you want to have in your own life. So do you want to have luxurious items, or do you not really care about luxury that much? Do you love by offering acts of service, or do you just love by hugging someone and nurturing them? Venus is going to show that. Finally, the last personal planet that we are going to talk about is going to be Mars. Now, Mars is going to be the planet of action, the drive, assertion. How do you act when you want to get something? How do you act when you want to go towards a goal? Or when someone has challenged you and you have to stand up for yourself? What is that stamina like within yourself? And also, the zodiac sign that Mars falls in can show what stimulates you to fight. So for example, someone with a Mars in Cancer could get very angry when someone that they care about, specifically from their family, is hurt. Because Cancer is the zodiac sign of nurturance, family, and emotional validation and protection. While someone with a Mars in Taurus might get angry or might get their feet started when their stability is being affected or when they're not feeling secure in life. As I mentioned earlier, Venus is the feminine side of ourselves, whilst Mars is the masculine side of ourselves. So in the chart of predominantly masculine people, Mars is going to show how they go towards the goal and how they act when they want to get something done. It can also come up in that interpretation in the charts of women or predominantly feminine people as well. But it can also show what type of men they're attracted to and what type of masculine energy they seek from the outside. Now, this is it with the personal planets. Now we move forward to the generational planets. And the generational planets are still very important in the birth chart because whilst the zodiac sign that these planets fall in only define the traits of a generation, it can still be very particularized to the person when we look at the house that the planet falls in. First of all, Jupiter is going to be the planet of abundance, luck, money, more specifically, the type of money that comes because you're open to accepting the big gifts of life, right? Jupiter is the planet of generosity. It's the planet of you give, so you receive. But it's also a planet that encourages you to study and to learn and to gain higher wisdom, which is why the house where Jupiter falls in is where you're going to be seen as particularly wise, but also where your soul is going to subconsciously seek a lot of experiences in. So for example, the 9th house is the house of higher wisdom, long-term travel, teaching, higher education as well. So someone with a Jupiter in the 9th house would be a very wise student and teacher and would probably monetize really well their ability to teach something that they know. While someone with a Jupiter in the 7th house could find a lot of abundance and wisdom in one-on-one partnerships because the 7th house is the house of one-on-one connections, marriage, and business partnerships alike. Saturn, on the other hand, is somewhere like the evil sister or the evil brother of Jupiter because it represents kind of the opposite. Whilst Jupiter expands, Saturn restricts. But there's so much more to the planet Saturn than just that. Saturn is the planet of karma, responsibility, authority, and awareness. So it is going to show where we are particularly harder on ourselves, but also it's going to represent where we tend to find a lot of lessons in life, where we tend to grow a lot. And here the zodiac sign tends to be quite significant, at least for the entire generation, because Saturn spends approximately 2.5 years in a zodiac sign. So people born around that time frame with you have similar lessons. For example, people born with the Saturn in Aries need to learn to stand up for themselves in a healthy way. But the house that Saturn falls in is where these lessons are particularly coming up. So where are you particularly challenged to demonstrate that you are acquiring these lessons in life? Now, the interesting thing about Saturn is that if you are working with it and if you are being wise about it and you're doing your homework and your lessons, then it can reward you with a lot of success. So for example, people with Saturn in the 10th house, if they demonstrate the qualities of the zodiac sign that Saturn falls in, they can acquire a lot of career success, public recognition, and they can be very, very successful when it comes to even climbing some sort of social or corporate ladder. So other than this, Saturn can also represent authority figures. So this can again be a father figure or a boss, or in general institutions in a person's life, because these are the people that can bring that sense of authority and rules into the person's life. Moving on to the trans-Saturnian planets. Now, the trans-Saturnian planets are even more special generational placements because they were discovered a little bit later on. They were not included in traditional astrology, so only modern astrologers work with the following planets. Now, I work with these planets and I care particularly about the house that they fall into the birth chart. So here's what they mean. First of all, Uranus, or Uranus, depending on who you ask, is going to be the planet of unconventionality, uniqueness, and shock. It is going to show where you particularly stand out as different, but also where you seek a lot of different experiences in life. Uranus doesn't like to conform with the rules. Uranus doesn't like to follow traditions, which is why it's very interesting when you see a person who has Saturn and Uranus in the same house, because they are kind of feeling that tug of war between following rules and then also doing things differently and not in a non-conformist way. Uranus is the planet that rules Aquarius in modern astrology, so you can basically think of it as where are you more of an Aquarius in your life. The house where Uranus falls in can also be where you find a lot of unexpected events in your life, or where life tends to shock you a little bit. It can shock you in a pleasant way, it can shock you in a more of an unpleasant way, it depends. The next planet that we talk about is going to be Neptune. Now, Neptune is going to be a planet that rules Pisces in modern astrology, so it is going to speak about the energy of intuition, dreaminess, creativity, but also this is the energy of universal love. What is interesting about Neptune is that it can have either a positive or a negative interpretation in your life depending on where you are. So for example, it can bring you a lot of intuitive perception and a lot of abilities to grow in the house, in the area of life described by the house where Neptune falls in. But a person that is not so evolved can experience the energy of deception in that area of life, because Neptune can also represent where we are a little bit head in the clouds, or where we may not see things clearly. So for example, a person with Neptune in the 7th house, where the 7th house is the house of marriage, partnerships, and one-on-one relationships, could be in a connection with someone who is deceptive towards them, or even who pulls them into alcohol, because alcohol can also be a theme of Neptune. Neptune is escapism beyond other things. But in the chart of a person who lives in a better environment, Neptune could just represent attracting a partner that is very intuitive and sensitive and kind to themselves. Maybe a Pisces, who knows? So finally, Pluto is going to be the last generational planet that we talk about. So Pluto is the planet of transformation and rebirth. If you know tarot cards, this is going to be the Death card and probably the Tower card just combined, which is why Pluto is going to show where you seek a lot of transformation in life, where you tackle that area of life with a lot of depth and intensity. There's almost like an intense passion for it. You don't know why, but there's also a desire for control and a desire to hold things together. And life will teach you to have sometimes a different perspective over that area of life in order for you to have a lot of success there. So for example, Pluto in the 2nd house initially could describe a person who's very controlling over their own money, or who has very set ways about how they manage their own security and stability, because the 2nd house deals with your money and what you own. But after they review the way that they control money, they actually can attract a lot of abundance, and releasing that struggle and hold that they have onto their financial mindset will actually allow them to become maybe millionaires or billionaires, or who knows, just reach their financial goals. So another example is if you would have Pluto in the 3rd house, the 3rd house being the house of studying, short-term travel, but also connections with the local community. This could be a person that really likes to study a lot and is very passionate about acquiring new information, maybe traveling from city to city, or simply just learning from courses and getting to share that information within their community. That's everything about the planets for today. I hope this video was useful. Just a heads up, if you want to learn more about astrology, because in these videos I only scratched the surface of what it means to read a birth chart, make sure that you check out the Astrologer Astrology Academy, linked right in the description box below. It is an online course that you can follow fully in your own time. It has explanations, examples, not just in natal chart astrology, which we tackle on this channel, but also predictive astrology, vocational astrology, children and family astrology, and more. There's hours of videos and examples that you can go through so that you can perfect your own interpretation style, but there's also the opportunity to chat with me so that I give you actual feedback as you go through the courses and answer your questions as well. Upon completion, you can take an exam and you will receive your diploma that certifies that you are an astrologer. Go on and check that out, or if you have any questions, make sure to post them in the comment section down below. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, but I will see you in the next one where we talk about the houses. Until then, stay safe. Bye bye.